So we wanted to share a continuation video of telling you about the birth story of our little baby here, which was a crazy
adventure.
Crazy ride. So it all started on Thursday in the evening. So my water started breaking when we were at church. We were at All Saints Day Mass and my water started to break. And we got through Mass and you can see the sunset from our church. There's like big glass windows and it was like the most beautiful sunset ever. And I was like, this is so like providential.
It was actually funny. People actually, I think there were statements on the news even saying that was one of the greatest sunsets Southern California had seen in a long time.
So I just thought like, this is so perfect and providential.
Yeah.
And so we got home and then my water like actually broke.
While I was like on the way to go to the gym.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go to the gym. I was like, I'm gonna relax.
Because we'd been this, Emily had her, what is it called, Hexham bricks and all the bricks and, what is it?
Braxton Hicks.
Braxton Hicks for whatever, like a week and a half now.
Yeah, long time.
So by this time, it's like a week and a half later, I'm even thinking, is there even a baby still in there, right? Because this is taking so long. So I'm like, well, maybe it's something, maybe it's not something. I'll go to the gym,
Yeah.
Let me know if anything is up. Obviously, I'll be back in an hour or so. And as I'm walking, like, literally, like,
out
about
the door,
to go
all
downstairs,
dressed up.
And Emily just, like, cling! Water starts
What did I
breaking.
say? I said, my water's actually broken.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, things got serious.
Yeah, it was real. And so we had to call the doctor. He said, okay, take it easy. Call me back in a couple of hours and we'll make a game plan. So we waited and my body was like having contractions and we called him a couple hours later and he said, okay, if you're not having heavy contractions, just come in the morning.
Yeah, so he said like come next, like try to stay at home through the night, start the labor process there, and then by like 5 or 6 a.m. the next morning, which was Friday, come into the hospital and then, we'll
get things
go
going.
from there.
We'll go from there. So I got to the hospital and they started me on Pitocin to help my body get into natural labor.
Because her own contractions just weren't picking up heavy enough, but also her water had already broken. So then there's this time limit of if your water already breaks, they want you to kind of start progressing because
there's risk for infection.
Yeah, exactly.
So contractions really picked up and it was like, whoa.
Yeah, so Emily and I walked through the hospital, did a lot of walking, did a lot
of walking, praying. We prayed and prayed for everybody we know and love. It was really special.
Yeah, but first actually, during that time as well, once you backwards really quick, fast forward, rewind real quick, is that when we actually got to the hospital, they checked Emily as well, and they basically said, well, your body's starting from zero, from scratch basically. So she had not really, her body wasn't really cooperating just yet. So we were starting from ground zero. They put her on the Pitocin, they ramped that up, and we were just, trying to walk around, move as much as we can, and try to get her body to start, progressing naturally as well, aside from just obviously the Pitocin, which, gets those contractions going.
Yes, it was pretty intense, and so we did that all morning, all afternoon, and my doctor, who's amazing, who I just love so much.
He's great.
He came and checked me in the afternoon, and he said, you have made zilch progress. 0, nothing. And that was really hard to hear.
Yeah, because we've been in there for a while
contracting
already.
Every couple minutes for like the whole half of the day.
And then he basically said, okay, what we'll do is we'll try to, I don't know how much you do.
Yeah, we don't want to share too much because it's like oversharing, like overkill.
Yeah.
But he did, like, there was just a couple of different ways that he tried to get my body to like get into wanting to give birth mode. And so he did a couple of those to try and see what would happen, gave me more and more and more hours, and by the end of the day, I was like at 2 centimeters.
Yeah, and so he said, okay, we'll cut you off of the Pitocin now, because obviously Emily could not eat solid foods as well while on the Pitocin.
I was eating Jello. It was heavenly.
She was having Jello. She hadn't really slept since her water broke Thursday night, and now it's already Friday night, so it's pretty much 24 hours later. She hadn't eaten anything, and she'd been through this laboring process for, 5 a.m. that morning with no sleep from the night before. So she was definitely feeling it. And so they said, all right, we'll cut her off the Pitocin. She can have a solid meal, and then we'll put you back on the Pitocin at 8 p.m. again, and then hopefully your body will, have another kickstart on Pitocin and really kick into gear.
Yes, so I had a salad from The Habit, and it was amazing.
With lots of chicken.
With lots of chicken. It was so good. And so I got to rest a little bit. It was so nice not to be contracting for like an hour.
Yeah, because her body still naturally hadn't really progressed, into your own contractions.
Yeah.
They were just on and off, not really consistent.
Yeah, really irregular. So we still had the time limit, you know, from my water breaking. And so that was, you know, kind of pressing us onward. And so they put me back on the Pitocin like through the night. So I labored and labored and labored and labored and labored and labored and labored.
Yeah, and at this stage it really started, you know, wearing heavily because now you're really starting to get tired. Your body's Emily's body's really going to get put through. We were all obviously being put through it. It's obviously, you know, Emily's the one working hard, but everybody's, you know, it's a team effort for sure.
So Daniel was there and my mom was there the whole time. My mom had already come down on Thursday. She was with us the whole day.
Yeah, she was great.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
The nurse came in the night and she said, you know, you're not progressing. So one of the last hopes is to get an epidural in hopes that my body could relax and start progressing on its own. And so they gave me the epidural at
like 1 a.m.
Like 1 o'clock. So I labored from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. And I got the epidural. That was one of the hardest parts of the whole thing, only because I had a huge contraction while they were giving me the epidural. It was funny because she said, lean over like a shrimp, which I just thought was the funniest thing ever.
Exactly. But I was, you know, obviously there's, you know, some risk, a little bit of risk with epidural as well. So you really want to be, you know, trying to. So I was just like holding tight, like saying, all right, baby, whatever it takes, try not to move through this one.
Yeah,
you know?
Daniel was rock steady the whole time. So I got the epidural in hopes that it would help me progress, and then was able to sleep a little bit through the night for a couple of hours.
Yeah. So every half an hour, the nurses and myself, we would turn Emily from her left to her right, to her left, to her right, just to, you know, keep the baby active in there as well, because obviously he's part of the process as well. He has to start pushing from internally.
Yeah. And they were watching him the whole time, watching his heart rate, just to make sure he was safe and he was good and I was safe and I was good. We had an incredible team.
Yeah, the hospital, all the people were really
every
great.
Second.
And so a couple hours after the epidural, they checked and they said, wow, now you're really, you know, now we're getting somewhere. So I'm excited, right? I'm texting my family back home saying, hey, now we're getting somewhere. I think, you know, by the morning, I said, by the rate that we're going now, we should be at, you know, close to getting to like the pushing stage of him actually coming out. So everybody, you know, hopes are high. Everybody's psyched now, you know. Everybody's like, okay, here we go. We're getting there.
Yep.
And so then through the night, obviously they ramp up the Pitocin. She doesn't, you know, she obviously doesn't feel
it anymore
because she's on the epidural. She gets to sleep a little bit. Then by the next morning, her doctor comes again and says, okay, let's see where we're at, right? So her doctor checks, and then, you know, again, everybody's like, fingers crossed, we're at like 9 or 10 a.m.
Yeah, and then we can like get into it.
Yeah, and he's like, well, not to break anyone's bubble, but you're at like still 2 to 3 basically. And so that was
that was over 24 hours.
Yeah.
Then we're pushing
a good amount of time with your water break on Thursday evening.
Yeah. So I mean, that was really, really hard. He just said like your body just isn't
kickstarting
to do it. Like your body just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. But again, then he wanted to try one more maneuver to stick to a natural birth. Yeah. And so we did one other thing, and there was a time like a time limit we gave ourselves. I think he checked at like 9. We said, all right, at like 11:30, 2.5 hours, we'll see if there's any progress, and if not, you know, we'll go from there.
Totally. And as you guys know from the beginning, I told you my birth plan was to get the baby out as like safe, whatever the way was the safest for me and for the baby. As you know, that was the birth plan. So we wanted to deliver naturally. That was, you know, what the plan was, but the ultimate plan was just to have open hands and say, okay, whatever needs to happen, I'm totally at peace with. And so that, you know, when the doctor came and he said, look, it's just not going to happen. I've done everything. And I felt like I did everything in order to, you know, deliver him myself. And it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. So Emma and I had a little chat, a little prayer. We said, okay, well, it's time to...
A very emotional chat and prayer.
Time to obviously go to a C-section then. Just to, you know, get the baby out and just... obviously make sure that he remains healthy, and he was still doing great, and obviously for Emily as well, and just to move on to that stage, because now times are really, really pushing.
Yeah.
So by the time we made that decision, it was like bang, like 10 minutes later, they're like, you know, getting us ready to roll into, what is that, in the surgery room?
Yeah.
What is that then? Yeah. So by that time, you know, we were just ready to, it's weird because at that moment, you know, like within whatever 30 minutes, within 45 minutes, he's going to be there no matter what, you know? It's not like, oh, how much longer is she progressing? It's like, they're coming in to take him. So,
they're coming in to take him out.
There's no more hiding now, buddy.
No. Yeah. So Daniel got all in his bunny suit, as they call it, and we kind of had like a team meeting where they're like, okay, do you guys have a playlist of music that you want? Who's gonna take photos? Like all these different kinds of things.
They were great.
It was awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was already on the epidural, so they didn't have to put me under. And they wheeled me in, and they started getting everything ready. And Daniel was in the hallway with my mom and dad. I love my mom so much. She had been there with us for the whole process, and only one person can be in the C-section. So we had to leave her behind, and that was really, really hard. That was hard because she had been there from square one. But then Daniel came in, and then they started the surgery.
It's funny actually because before they were prepping Emily was already getting taken in and getting prepped, and I was waiting outside. And then our doctor actually, who also had surgery, then he came out and said, hey, wait, I gotta figure out this playlist on this phone really quick, how this works again, and all that. So we were just kind of, nervously laughing, like, okay, well, we'll figure it out.
My doctor's like the most relaxed man on planet Earth.
It was great.
They started the music, and I was just like, I felt so peaceful. And so I was just like chit-chatting with the doctors and with the anesthesiologist while I'm laying there. Like my body was not peaceful. I was like shaking because my body had just been through so much. But I felt peaceful in my heart.
Yeah, so Emily's obviously she's obviously awake and all that, but then there's a cover that she doesn't, see what's going on.
So it was kind of cool because in true 2018 fashion, we had this long worship playlist.
Yeah, we had labor with the entire process.
The whole process. And so they pressed play, and they were doing the surgery, and then he was born to reckless love. And he was born most specifically to the bridge of reckless love. Yeah,
so by the time that they said the okay for me to go into the room, so I go and I'm behind the little curtain thing with Emily then, and then once I stepped behind the curtain, Emily was there just 2 hands in the air, just praising her heart out and just singing loudly with the music while people are literally, getting this baby out. Like it was just...
In fewer words.
Exactly, yeah. And so then I got the cue if I wanted to go and see, my little boy being born. So I took that opportunity, and I saw them literally, take this new life out of Emily, and just out of our love, it was just, I was really just so emotionally overwhelmed. It was just such an astonishing, beautiful sight. It was just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just, all of a sudden, he's just there. The doctor, he pulls him out. He actually said, if you guys haven't named him yet, you should think about naming him Butch. Like, as he pulled him out, he says this. Because he's so big. And then he just, puts him over, and then touches Emily with him, and then he had to get checked really quick. And then I got to, be there for all the first initial checks, which took maybe a couple of minutes. It was actually really quick. Everything was okay, thankfully. And then they... gave him behind the curtain again and laid him on Emily's chest, and we just sat there just looking at him.
Looking at him.
He was crying, and he was wiggling, and he was just full of life.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
They took us away. They wheeled us out into a recovery room where we, they did more tests on him, and they, took care of us and did all these things. So we were in there for like an hour. And then they wrapped him up, and then we got to go press the button for the lullaby that plays over the whole hospital. In most hospitals across America, there's a little lullaby that you'll hear, even if you're in the emergency room or wherever you are, that a baby was born then. So you press the button, right?
I pressed the button, yeah.
For the lullaby, and it played over the hospital, and so everybody knew that he was born.
Yep.
Not him specifically, but a baby.
Yeah.
They wheeled us into our postpartum room, our maternity room. And that was that. Yeah,
and so we stayed there for a couple of days, just obviously because of the C-section. They want to monitor you a little bit longer, have the baby there a little bit longer. And then we were dismissed to go home. I think it was Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon, evening. And we've been home ever since.
And so actually we ordered him back to the doctor last Friday. He's doing great.
He's doing awesome.
Already almost back on his original birth weight within 5 days or so. So he's really packing on the meat.
Yeah.
Gaining, making those gains. He's, a little trooper there. So.
Yeah. So overall it was beautiful. It was like, so I would do it all over again. Honestly, I would do it all over again because it was so... just rich with the beauty of life and the struggle
grit,
and
grit, sacrifice and all
that. It was so amazing to, be a part of the whole thing. The unity that Daniel and I felt during the whole process was incredible.
It really was, yeah.
That we were one unit. And the whole thing was just amazing. Yeah,
and so now we're just relaxing and enjoying him every second of every day, and he
smells so good.
Yeah, he's nice and fresh. So
that's our story. We're sticking to it, and we're really, really just peaceful about how the whole thing turned out. And I'm doing great. I feel great.
Yeah,
recovering one day at a time.
Doing great, yeah.
And Daniel has taken great care of me. I'm glad that Daniel came on so we could both talk about it together. But I'll definitely be sharing more, and you'll be seeing more of little baby Z. He's so peaceful. Seriously, he's so relaxed. We'll take it. We'll take it. We love you, baby. We love you. All right, that's all for today. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
Bye.